Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. For those that don't have me on Instagram, I hope everyone across the pond had a fantastic Thanksgiving with your families. But on to today, we are taking a look at the White Scars versus the Night Lords. Now, the events we are discussing today are from the short story Chase the Wind by John Flindle, and this was actually a free upload on Warhammer community website as it's part of the ongoing Psychic Awakening campaign. Now, this one was actually from around a month ago, but I finally got round to reading it, and man, I just had to recommend it to you all to go and check out. I'll put the link in the description as always, but it was a fantastic little read. Now, in this particular story, the White Scars have pursued a Night Lord ship into an asteroid field, only to find themselves being ambushed by their traitor kin. So with that said, let's just jump straight in. Reality split with a noise like tearing flesh. Before Lieutenant Takar's eyes, 3 jagged blades pushed into existence in the enginarium room as something ripped a path into the material realm. For a moment, the White Scar's superhuman reflexes failed him, and he froze as the horror before him took shape. Then it leapt, and he instinctively span to avoid its slashing claws. Warp Talon, he thought, as his training kicked in. The warrior wore the midnight blue of the Night Lords. The lightning crackled from the sharpened edges of his armour. The bolt carbines of Infiltrator Squad Zuzak opened up as more of the heretic Astartes tore their way into reality, concussive echoes ringing out in the close confines. Takar brought his weapon to his shoulder and fired a short burst of shots at his foe as the Warp Talon closed again. Ceramite fragments flew from his target's pauldron, but the warrior was hardly slowed by the impacts. Takar's desperate parry saved him from being gutted by the Warp Talon's charge, but momentum bore him to the deck nonetheless. Sparks flew as his foe's lightning claws carved up the plating to either side of him. He drew a combat blade and buried it between the plates that guarded the warrior's guts. As the Warp Talon convulsed, Takar pushed the wounded attacker aside and rolled to his feet. He swung his carbine up and put 2 bolt rounds into the Chaos Space Marine's helm, which burst open in a crimson bloom. Before him was a scene of horror. The Warp Assassins had cut down several of Squad Zuzak, and white armoured bodies lay torn and scattered on the deck plating. The remainder of the infiltrators were retreating, backing down the corridor which led to the ship's primary reactor. Their guns laid down disciplined covering fire, but the Warp Talons were too fast. Before Takar could react, another of the Night Lord's warriors fired his jump pack, boosting forward to impale Brother Jogan upon his jagged claws. Enemy assault troops on Enginarium Deck 4, aft bulkhead 16, Takar voxed to the other White Scar forces. Heavy casualties, avoid engaging at Blade's range. Ignoring his own advice, the lieutenant rushed towards the fiend hunched over Brother Jogan. The enemy wore no helm, and his pallid face was set in a rictus grin as he looked up from his victim. "Your kin make poor sport, White Scar," the Chaos Space Marine hissed, withdrawing his claws from Jogan's torso in a welter of blood. As Takar roared and drew his remaining knife, he saw the dying warrior's arm twitch. Then, the crack grenade in Jogan's hand detonated, and the Warp Talon and his victim were lost to a blinding explosion. Man, what a kickoff! That's actually how this short story begins, right into the thick of the action. And it's awesome. It actually makes me want to know more about this conflict. How did they come to get here? How long has it been going on for? That's the one thing about these standalone short stories. You get so invested in the characters. You just want to know more about them. And I just love it when the former legions go at it against each other. Yes, of course, these White Scars never knew the legions, but still, you get the point. It's the White Scars versus the Night Lords. It's impactful. It means something more than just a successor chapter. But of course that may be just because I'm such a lover of the founding legions and the Primarchs. But here the Night Lords are showing their mastery of the dark, and their unpredictability. I mean literally warp talons jumping through the immaterium aboard a vessel and ripping into the Night Scar's infiltration squad. Now Takar survives the explosion of the grenade, a final measure of revenge from the fallen White Scar in taking his killer with him. And in the next scene we have him sitting with his Khan, Jodaga, the master of recruits, captain of the 10th Company, as they discuss the events over a burning bowl of incense, the smoke rising between them, curling out into the air. Side note here, but it really makes me want to get some kind of tribal, shamanistic, elemental music made for these kind of White Scar scenes. I always get the feel of a soft beating drum beating in my head whenever I'm listening to the White Scars talk or reading them in the scenes. I just feel it'd be so fitting. You can just hear the fire lightly crackling in the background as they talk. It's also one of the reasons that the White Scars are such a good audiobook legion/chapter, because they have such strong character and identity that hearing the voices of these characters really helps bring them to life, and it draws you into the heart of the chapter. Of course, a lot of credit has to go to Chris Raitt, really, for the amazing work he done with the White Scars in the Horus Heresy series. Really laid such an amazing groundwork for their character. But back onto topic, Takar is relaying his frustrations to the Khan. 3 more brothers fell today beneath the blades of the Night Lords and their ambush tactics. Yet whenever the Scars stunt the attack and begin to counter, the Night Lords simply flee. The Scars can get no victory. They are being played with. The Khan merely replies that they must push on despite their wounds. Takar of course agrees, but admits it would be easier with their Stormseer at their side. And then it's revealed the Night Lords have been broadcasting tortured screams of captured astropaths non-stop throughout the entire engagement, and it's forcing their Stormseer to use all of his might to simply not pass out to the barrage in his mind. Whether you love the Night Lords or hate them, you have to admit they will do whatever it takes to win. There is no line they will not cross. But Jodaga's response? Jodaga looked up, meeting Takar's stare through the coiling smoke. Ours is not an easy path, he said levelly. But we were not made for easy paths. I too feel our seer's absence keenly, but I know what he would say if he were here with us. We are the wind, brother. These traitors think to break our will, but no one can check the wind. And then it just cuts right back into the thick of the action. Takar ducked beneath the swing of the Terminator's mace, slicing at the pipes under its breastplate. He stepped back out of the range of the warrior's tusked helm, covering his retreat with burst from his bolter. How many more of these ambushes could the strike force survive? The Terminator's midnight plate was barely marked by a mass reactive bolt, and the warrior lumbered towards him, relentless. Behind it, 4 more of the behemoths advanced towards him. Stepping backwards, the lieutenant stumbled over the body of a crippled infiltrator. The Terminator hefted its mace, and energy crackled around the weapon's head as Takar groped for the grenades at his belt. Then, an explosive round cracked into the Terminator's eye lens, spraying brain matter across Takar's vision. The towering Chaos Space Marine sagged, slipping to its knees. Takar leapt aside before it crashed to the deck, then glanced to his left down the dimly lit corridor. His optics allowed him to make out 3 eliminators at its far end, crouched in the shadows. More fire snapped out, and another of the Night Lords fell. "Strike, sons of Trigoris," came Jodaga's voice as the captain leapt from an overhead gantry to slam into a reeling Terminator. His sword flashed, and blood poured from his target's torso in a flood. The Reavers of Squad Bortal dropped with him, heavy bolt pistols barking at point-blank range. In moments, the remaining Terminators had fallen, and Takar joined in his brother's cheers. Jodaga Khan turned to his lieutenant. The Khan's top knot was plastered to his scalp with traitor's blood, and his eyes glittered. "These snakes thought they could outrun the wind, Takar. but no matter how fast you run, the wind is there before you. Ah man, what a great short story that is, highlighting two of the truly individual legions in the Night Lords and White Scars. The Night Lords at first having the advantage over the Scars, but you can only outrun the wind for so long. Man, I'm a big White Scars fan, but even this little short story makes me like them all the more. A great job by the writer John Flindle here, really capturing the essence and the character of the chapter. But as always, what did you guys think? Did you enjoy the read as much as me? Yes, this is a short one, but man, I think this is a perfect example of quality over quantity. Are you surprised that the Night Lords had the jump over the Scars? Or are you surprised the White Scars even managed to overcome them? And would you like to see more of this campaign like me? Does it make you want to see more about the conflict between the Night Lords and the White Scars? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.